The additional consent came to us today or yesterday for this meeting. You sent some-
Are you in?
Yep.
Oh, you're out of here.
Hi, Vetus.
Hey, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello,
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Paul's not here. Is Paul on? Okay, he is. All right, we can call the meeting to order. We have a roll call
Mr. Syracuse?
here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Mr. Myers,
Here.
yours?
Sorry, was that me? I'm here.
Mr. Kless?
Here.
Ms. Weber?
Here.
Mr. Russell?
Here,
All right, this is a workshop meeting for the Mayfield Village Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, June 17th, 2021. This meeting has been duly noticed and will be held in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, specific to recent amendments made in light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency, House Bill 197, amended by House Bill 404. Under the orders of Governor DeWine, Planning and Zoning Commission will be meeting remotely via electronic means. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome our new building commissioner, Dan Russell.
thank
Dan,
you.
I had the pleasure of having Dan on for a meeting we had the other night, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I know we're all looking forward to working with you with this commission as well.
Same here. Thank
Yes,
you very much.
welcome.
Great.
All right, we have one proposal before us tonight. It's for a conditional use permit for an arts and event center. The applicant is Joanna Zona, 700 Beta Drive, Suite number 500, 4 Penn Beta LLC. You will be presenting your case tonight in front of us for your application. We will not be taking a vote. That will occur on Tuesday, July 6th at 6 p.m. So if you could please just state your name and address for the record, and then you can go ahead and present.
Absolutely. I'm Joanna Noctigal-Zona, and my address is 1729 Blaze Namath Road, and that's in Paynesville Township, 44077.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
All right, you can go ahead with your presentation whenever you're ready.
Sure. I am basically looking to rent the space in 700 Beta. It's an inside space. And we want to put a basically a small arts and event center there, mainly for a black box theater that my son is involved with, partially through his studies at Lake Erie College and partially just for what he would like to do. So he has been in that space for over 7 years. And so that's basically what we want. The reason that I wanted to present all of this is that I don't want to go ahead and pay the architect and move forward with it unless you all feel that it would be something that would be appropriate there. So I don't know if you want me to go through the questions or I don't know if you've reviewed everything. I'm just not real sure what we want to do.
Sure. Everyone here has reviewed your application, but if you can, go on the record and talk about, we have 10 guidelines we're supposed to consider in granting.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll just give you just a little bit of background. This has been in the process for about 2 years, and we were moving ahead with it right before COVID hit. We had secured a space over on Alpha Drive, actually with the same landlord. We had looked at this space in Beta first, and then he had another space available that we just chose over that time. Well, then COVID hit, and we basically, put everything on hold. And in the meantime, the landlord actually sold that building. And so then he re-offered us the space here at 700 Beta. So that's kind of what's brought us up, to this place. So really what I'm looking for overall is a space for that. It would be very specific space, conducive to theater use, performing arts use, that type of thing. So it wouldn't really it's something completely different than what's around that area and what's offered there in Mayfield Village currently. We like Mayfield Village a lot. We like the city a lot. We think that it has great access. A lot of our actors are from the Akron area and out Menor Paynesville way. So we have, we pull from a lot of different areas. So he started the theater a couple of years ago. I then during COVID realized that, you always need a plan B and C and D. And so when I decided to move ahead with this particular space, I felt that I wanted to include the possibility of doing other types of events in there other than just this, a theater, black box theater kind of a setting, just in case, something happened again and needed to do something different to help support the theater. So that was kind of why I moved it more into an arts and event center than just specifically a theater. And to be clear, black box theater is basically a big open space, and then the actors, obviously they rehearse and do all of that, but it's all conducive to whatever play they're doing, how the setup is. So it's not a theater, with seats and a stage. It's just a big open space, and they may have, theater in the round. They may have tables and chairs. They might have regular theater seating. It just depends on the performance. And we've actually secured the rights for, we had a whole season planned for the year of COVID. So we have secured rights for many shows throughout the year. And we're actually starting the season in the end of July, beginning of August, and we're renting space at the Hilton for that small performance. So that's going to work out pretty good as far as that goes. So I guess that kind of addresses, in the way the economy is now, I think people need backup plans. And I've always been an entrepreneur. And so I know that people use space for small business meetings and that type of thing. So I wanted to bring some other value to the area, to my circle of influence, as well as to the actors and the people that follow us, the Access Theater project. So that's that. So do you want me just to go down the questions? Would that be what you'd like me to do? Okay, so the first one, I basically felt that the event center is critical to small businesses in the area. I taught business at Brush High School, and I've been a business coach and really helped small businesses get going. If that's what makes me go, that's why I'm excited to help my son get his business going. People need to connect with one another, I think, more now than even before COVID. So it really changed the look that I had for what we were going to do there. Let's see here. I'm looking at my notes. So I would like to offer, my knowledge and service to, anyone in the area. As far as educating, that's one of my main passions. The second question is, so it's an inside space, so it's really not going to have any effect on anything outside, as you saw in the drawing. So that really doesn't apply to that, and there won't be any changes to the outside of the building. The third thing is, let's see, our events will be small, take place. Okay, yeah, so most of the events will be taking place in the evenings, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when most of the regular tenants in the building are not there. And so that was one reason why the landlord thought it would be an appropriate fit for that space, is because, the building's not being utilized fully at that time. Then the fourth one really doesn't apply. The fifth one really doesn't apply. The sixth one, I think it's economically feasible because we have to rent space anyway somewhere. And so it just made sense to have our own space and then possibly increase, other people using the space to even help bolster it more. So I've been in business over 45 years. So I really have a good handle on rent. I used to own Up and Away Balloons on Mayfield Road back in the early, 2001, 2002, before my son, or right when my son was born, while I was teaching at the high school. So I really understand business, and I understand marketing, and I understand how to bring value to the area, as well as, make a profit. And quite honestly, this is the way I look at it, is it's an extension of my son's education. He lives at home, so I didn't have to put out a whole lot of money for him to, board somewhere. And so I feel that part of it is for that too. So that's pretty much number 6. I think, like I said, competition wise, I'm not really looking to compete with anything. I'm looking to create a niche there in that space. And then number 7, really, there's nothing that our organization would do that would put a burden on anything in the city. I want to be an asset to the city. 8, benefits to the community. I'm open, honestly. I have a lot of skills that I can offer. I have a lot of knowledge I can offer. I feel that that putting a small arts in that space would increase awareness of the arts. It would, the Access Theater project, their mission is basically, and I don't know if you checked out the Facebook page, but the Access Theater project Facebook page has a lot of the information on that, as well as the website that they have going on. So I'm happy to fit into the community. I want to become an active member of the community, get involved in anything from the Chamber of Commerce to anything that the city would need help with, re-educating people for jobs, anything like that. I'm a certified business teacher, so I have a lot of access to helping people write resumes. So I'm real open if people have suggestions of what, I could do for the city. let's see, and as well as giving local artists, performing artists, as well as art exhibits, that type of thing is something we looked at putting in there where people could come and view, artwork of local artists. I'd love to get involved with the school district because that's part of what my passion is, and get them involved with it. I've worked with the organization Project Love, which is Values in Action, since I was at Brush in 2000, well, the early 2000s, late 98 to 2000. So I've worked with that organization before, and would be happy to, co-create with them as well. So I'm open to whatever. I'm just looking to have a space that is ours, that we can build sets in, that we can do things in, that can get local artists performing, as well as, the media artists out there, and create a center in Mayfield Village. So that's 8. So let me look here. 9, let's see, 9 really didn't apply because nothing's really going to change with the space, or it's the parking, I think, was one of the questions, and I actually sent Debbie the response from the landlord on the parking. There is very specific parking guidelines for what the surrounding businesses, such as the Hilton, can use in there. And then there's also an adjacent parking lot that we have access to if we use valet service of 83 spaces. So I don't think the parking is going to be a problem, considering, my timeframes and the amount of cars I would have there. The capacity looks like it's going to be about 65 from what my architect said. So I don't think that that's going to create, any parking issues as far as that goes. And then number 10, positive impact on the community. Obviously, everything I've ever done, I've tried to have a positive impact on communities, on schools, on helping people move along. But I would like to, obviously, I can hire people if it gets to that point to help me out, and I can definitely have volunteers. I can teach. Whatever the community would like me to do. I'd like to get involved. I'm semi-retired, so I was a floral designer. I spent 40 years in retail florist, and so I'm retired from that. It's been a crazy time, but so I'm looking for a home of where I can help and where I can add value, and where we as a theater can add value and help people grow, and sometimes process things. One of the first show that we did that is online, and it's going to be re-released in August, was Hindsight 2020. And that basically was a collection of 25 monologues that local writers had written. And then Cameron, my son, cast, and people acted out their monologues. And it was very cathartic and helping people process through COVID. So it's that kind of a impact that Access Theater Project would like to have, as well as the impact that I would like to have on the community and with the community.
What are your anticipated hours of operation that this would be open?
So, I think that I'm going to use it for an office space. So I'm going to be there, myself, and but most of the rehearsals and the shows are in the evenings. If there was something during the day, I would anticipate it being a small business meeting, 20, 25 people, something like that. I'd love to do networking events. So I'd love to, either host networking events there or create a networking group there. So it would be, usually the shows are over, 10:30 at the latest. And it just would depend on what hours I would be there, but it wouldn't be crazy late hours or anything like that. So just like standard business hours, I guess, would be the best way to put it, with the evenings for the performances.
Would there be
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
any employees?
Not really as of the beginning, no, just myself and the actors. The way the actors are paid, and that is a cost split with the ticket sales. And the ticket sales, we employ a pay-as-you-will ticket process, so people can pay whatever they can afford. Some people pay more and some people pay less, and generally that actually works out better than a set ticket price. So we want to include everybody being able to come to the theater. So
Okay, because just number
Can I clarify real quick?
Yeah.
Are you is there an entity that's going to be the lessee, or are you personally leasing this space? And then,
So yeah, so how it's set up is we have the Access Theater Project as an LLC. And then the theater itself is a nonprofit. And so we're in the process of going through, getting all that status.
so is the theater renting the space, or
The
are you
L-
renting?
It's the LLC that's renting it and then
Okay.
we'll have personal guarantee on it is on the lease. Mhm.
Okay, all right. And then,
Does
so
that-
then
does that make
you're with-
sense?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was just kind of trying to kind of clarify the kind of the main operations that would be
Yeah.
going on in
Mhm.
this space.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it was planned to be just a theater. And then when COVID hit, it just made me realize and open up my eyes to so much more that I could add value and help out with things.
I have a
Well,
question.
number 10 says, you were talking about the positive impact, but it actually refers to the positive economic impact by creating or expanding employment opportunities and increasing tax revenue within the village.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's going to be possible if there aren't any employees or anyone's going to be working.
Well, yeah, as I said, to start, there wouldn't be any employees, but I think down the road, there probably would be a couple. I mean, I can't see it, we're a small space. I can't see it employing a huge amount of people, but I would like to get it to the place where it could, but I don't want to start out with employees. I want to start out with volunteers.
We have, we received from John Marquardt, our Economic Development Director. He couldn't be present for the meeting this evening, but he did mention a couple of these items, some of our guidelines.
Yes.
Specifically 3 of them. I think you addressed the first one to a degree, to some extent, about will not adversely, substantially, or permanently injure the appropriate use of neighbor's property, considering such factors as traffic, volumes, patterns, access management, noise, dust, odor, visual impacts, deliveries, and hours of operation.
Right.
And you were saying that you wouldn't, in your original application, most of these events will be evenings and weekends, but because the Hilton Garden Inn and 700 Conference Center experience their largest volumes in evenings and weekends, it could put a strain on the parking. But I just got a copy of this. The other members, I don't think have received this yet, but I'm sure we'll have it prior to a regular meeting, at which time we'll take a vote. But it looks like you received some documentation from was it the property owner?
Yes.
Regarding
Yeah, the landlord and property owner. Right. So yeah, he explained to me that that the Hilton does not have access to as much as is there, and that we have rights to some of that. So it would be fine, considering that we have that adjacent parking that we can use that has 83 cars there if we needed to do valet parking or something like that. So there's guidelines, and it's all, I think I attached everything to that. So I really don't have concerns. The shows are small. I would be 30 to 50 people coming to the show would be great. So I don't, at least, initially, we can only hold 65 people with the actors. So I don't see that being that big of a problem during those times.
And the other two factors that were of concern to Mr. Marquardt were whether or not it's economically feasible based on documentation submitted by you, if there's sufficient market demand within the village and or surrounding areas to support the use.
Right. So what I can tell you is I've been in the theater space for a long time. I think that theater companies are always looking to rent space. I have to rent space. I'm, spending money to rent at the Hilton for this. And so, I feel as a business person that it's going to be economically feasible. I don't have concerns about it. Just because, I know their online show pulled quite a bit of money just for an online show. So I think that economically we're going to be okay. I have no concerns about that.
Also, talks about whether there's sufficient market demand within Mayfield Village or surrounding areas supporting the use.
Right. So I guess it's not really about the demand that's there. Number one, it's about creating demand and educating people of what's going to be there and marketing. I'm a huge marketing major and I know everything is marketing. I pull the actors and the people that are on our Facebook page. We have over 1,000 followers, and most of them are from like the whole surrounding area of Mayfield Village. One of the reasons that we picked it, from all the way down to from Canton to the west side to wherever. So I can create the demand there. You know, it's not like I just have to use what's in Mayfield Village. I want to bring more people to the village, because I think that you all have a lot to offer.
Any other members have questions or comments?
Yes, I do. Can you explain a little bit of your intentions with the event center part of this thing, and whether, you know, whether we, John, I'm not sure, or excuse me, not John, Dan and Vetus, I don't know, you know, if that's zoned, you know, I mean, are we looking at something different if with the introduction of food, or maybe, I don't know if you're planning on an event, would it include alcohol and all those?
I don't want to include that if I don't have to. That's just a nightmare waiting to happen. So I don't foresee that
But how
occurring
about
there. As far as food and beverage, that type of thing, I suppose, like if someone had maybe a small shower, they would bring everything themselves, or it would be catered. I'm not cooking anything there on premise. It would all be brought in. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't.
What kind of, you know, what kind of events you were thinking about?
Yeah, so the events mostly like small business meetings, or maybe a vendor show, a networking events, that type of thing. I'm not looking to do, you know, huge events. Like I said, most of the people that are connected to the theater, they all do something else. They might do photography, or they might have a small you know, this business or that business or whatever. So what I'd like to do is give them more exposure and create, you know, events that they could showcase what else they do. Or classes, because I teach. So I would look at teaching things.
I have another question maybe for Dan. Is that, would we determine the official capacity of that space? She said the architect or the owner, but would the village have some, you know, would have to be a review from the, you know, if we're gonna have, would there be reviews from safety?
Yeah,
Would that be necessary? Maybe not.
yeah, the architect would be the one defining the uses. I mean, the uses she's been explaining, it's really kind of all over the gamut for occupant loads. So it's going to be up to the architect, her architect, and then it'll go through our review process with our plans examiner to see if it complies to code, because there's no bathrooms available inside the unit. So that's going to be an issue that the architect.
Yeah, so yeah, let me address all of that. So there is space for the restrooms. There's a clean out and there's water available. I had my contractor as well as my architect there several times. Just to make sure that would work, and they'll be all compliant and up to code and all of that. And they've all worked, you know, with that sort of thing before. And so we will be installing the bathrooms prior to opening. And so that was another reason I didn't want to put out any money, you know, before I at least knew. And what John had explained to me was that it wasn't zoned for this, but it wasn't zoned not for this. And so that was why he felt that we should have a conversation and go this route, so that I was clear, and I want to do everything right, you know, and I don't want to waste any money or anyone's time.
Okay, all questions?
Yes. How many entrances are there to that space?
The space,
Just
there's
the-
actually 4. So if you could bring up the picture of it, I can explain to you where the exits are and how it works. Okay, so you see the common area that's to the left of the space, that's a hallway. That's a hallway. And so and then there's a hallway kind of behind where the M is. If you go to the right of the M, that's a hallway.
Okay.
And that leads out. Okay, and it also leads into the other tenant that's leased, the Hetty Larlam Foundation. And so there's 2 exits in that main room, the big room. And the question that I asked the architect was, they have to be a certain distance apart, is what John explained to me. And that was what he was intending in in the letter that he wrote to you, stating that those exits are out into that main hallway. And there is 2 of them, and they are far enough apart up to code. There's also an exit in that big room by the C and the O. There's an exit out there, as well as there's an exit from that room into that back hallway. The restrooms would be in the room that's next to the biggest room, which also exits out to that back hallway. So there's a lot of different exits out to that back hallway, which then leads to that common hallway.
Okay. Yeah,
Sort of a unique space, but it's good because it's what we're looking for.
I was just kind of curious, if, in case it was an emergency, make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that was one thing I looked at and why I had the architect come out twice, and we went over everything and to make sure that that was going to work. Because I like planning rather than planning afterwards.
Am I understanding it correctly that all the exits go out that common hallway area?
Correct. And then the common hallway exit goes straight out to the front of the building, which is on Beta.
Beta Drive.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Do you know how wide that common area is?
It's pretty wide. It's not narrow. I would say it's wide.
Just curious.
Yeah, maybe 10 feet wide. It's pretty good size. I can text my contractor and see, because he looked if we were going to have to put
Well, if you get the volume of people going down that hall, if there's an emergency, that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
no, it's pretty good size. But I'll text him and see if he has any idea how wide that common hallway is. Of course, he's a better judge of space than I am as far as that goes, but it's good size.
Joanna, you could also plan to bring that information with you to the next meeting.
Okay.
You can supplement anything at the next meeting prior to us taking a vote. So if there's anything that we have any questions that you don't have the answers tonight, you can either supplement that.
Okay.
To Dan or to John and have them send it to us, and then you can also bring it to.
Vetus, I would also think that I would like to see memorialized the hours of operation and days as well. We
Okay.
need to have that specified. And I'm still curious about. I'd like to know the final word on how many people, capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I had asked the architect that, and I think there's a formula, because he said that given the 3,000 square feet, that it would be 65.
Right.
So there's a formula that he worked out. So, I mean, and, if that has to change, I mean, as long as I can have 30 to 35 people at a show, that's probably going to be where we're at.
Well, right. And I trust, as Dan said, our safety forces or safety fire folks will check this out and make sure it's all on the up and up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Leon's a really good guy, super easy to get along with, and very helpful. He said what he could do actually is, if you'd like, because I have not given him any, yay or nay, or given him a down payment or anything. But what he's willing to do is, if there was somebody, if he wants to talk to one of you, he could explain more, verbally if need be, before I moved ahead. Because I just want, I don't want to waste money and time.
Yeah, if you'd like him to attend the next meeting and present anything before we take a vote, you can.
Okay.
Like Paul said, whenever we grant any, when we vote on these, we always need to know the days and hours of operation. In this case, because typical, business, retail, whatever it might be, we know the max capacity. But this, because it's going to fluctuate depending on the event. If we can
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can write up something, I just never even really thought about it, because I just kind of know what it's going to do, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I have an additional question for all is, do we need some more economic information? I'm a little curious to, you say you're funded, and
Mhm.
it doesn't appear that like you said, that additional things will fund this event,
Mhm.
or will fund this whole process. I must admit, I would not know what the lease price would be monthly. And then, I think that's something that we should review to say, okay, what do you need to do? Or is that our business? How many events do you have to have?
Yeah, I mean,
kinda do
we have
something
a
like that.
business, yeah, we have a business plan for the theater. The way we're working it so that you understand is the first year, we're doing all the improvements. And so there's no rent for the first year. So we're paying for the restrooms, we're paying for the any improvements. There's a few doors that need to be put up and fire extinguishers and all of that. So the agreement that we have is that we pay for the improvements and then we don't start paying rent for a year. And it's going to be a 3-year lease. So
Well, Paul, I think to answer the question, it's not really, that's really the business model. The business plan is really for her to figure out if it's economically feasible for her. Our factors are in these guidelines, which are attached to the application. And I think the ones that really apply to the number 6 is whether it's economically feasible based on documentation submitted by the applicant, that there's sufficient market demand within the village and surrounding areas. That's one that John Marquardt had commented on. And the last one, again, does it have the potential to create a positive economic impact by creating or expanding employment opportunities and increasing tax revenue within the village? I asked her about that as well. Ms. Zona did, respond to that. I think, we just have to consider these guidelines and any additional evidence or documentation that supports this project that you could bring or, bring to our attention before the next meeting or at the next meeting. Would help us in making a determination how you've met the burden that we need to base this review on.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Any additional questions or comments from anyone?
Nope.
So I guess I'm not looking for a yay or a nay, but I am in the way of looking at, should I put out the money to go ahead and move forward? Is kind of what I'm thinking. I'm sorry.
That's a question we can't answer for you. We will be taking a vote at the July 6th meeting at 6
Okay.
p.m. So you'll know whether or not it passes at that time.
Okay.
Anything else that you have that's a supplementary answer to any of these questions that arose tonight, you can provide that in the meantime and then address those if you need them before we take the vote. We'd all appreciate it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Any additional things to discuss tonight? If none, then we'll adjourn and see everyone again on the 6th.
Thank
Thanks,
you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Night.